So here I have created, this is my folder structure. I named it as class 1, and I created different folder. Whatever I teach you in CSS will go into CSS folder. Whatever I will teach you regarding database, it will go in DB folder. Anything related to data structure will go to DS folder. Anything related to JavaScript will go into the JavaScript folder, and Node.js part will go into Node.js. React.js part will go to React.js. Let's so those who are new or those who have not created the project, they can go to their Visual Studio Code, and they can go to terminal and they have to do following steps. I'll just briefly talk about that. So you have to install the Node.js from nodejs.org, and you have to install Visual Studio Code. So these two things are needed, and maybe you create some folders here, and if you don't know, you can go back to my past lectures where I have explained in detail what you have to do. Okay, so let's say you created the React.js folder, and those who have not created, they can follow the things now. And once we start it, I will give you the task. So you have to do these steps now. And once we start it, after some time, I will give you some tasks which you have to do. And those who have not done all these things, they can do today. Tomorrow they can do the task. So today you only watch. So in this React.js folder, I will run the command to install the React, and the command is npx create React app, and I will name the project which I want to create. Maybe I can say 005. So once I run this, a project will be created, project 0005, and we can work on that. But today I will work on this project 0004, which I created few days back. So let me go to that folder, and I will run npm start. So I'll go through. I'll start with the React. Whatever I did yesterday, day before yesterday, I may revise little bit of that, but I will go further to what we want to do. In the project 004, all my lectures are recorded, and I show you the link. This is the link. I will paste in the Telegram also, and I will put it here in the chat also. You can go through all my lessons. So all the sessions are recorded. Okay, so let's start the React part. So if in the project 004, I have the source folder, and in the source folder we have app.jsx. And last time we did this. I will delete that part because that part I don't want to do now. And nobody sent me that project. I asked you the task. Only one student sent me the details. Otherwise, I haven't received anyone the task which I gave you for homework. Nobody sent me that task. Only one student sent me the task in the Telegram chat. Okay, so let me start little bit basics of this. Okay, Ashok has done it. Okay, so let me delete all things. So here is my app.jsx file. It was initially app.js, and now I rename it to app.jsx. Whatever we do HTML or whatever we do in the React, this HTML inside the JavaScript is called the JSX language. It is called JSX language. Since it is JSX, I renamed the file app.js to app.jsx. If you install default React, it is app.js, but I renamed it to app.jsx because it is JSX language. Both are okay. If you keep JS also, it is fine. So in the React, we always get the app. Function, and this function is called the components in the React. This is called components in React. So app is one component, and it has some HTML text. So I can put any text here, hello world, and then I will see in the browser I will see hello world is displayed here. Okay, let me open the console.log. What is constant? Okay, let me explain you constant. So generally in JavaScript, we create the variables using the var. For example, I can say var name equal to XYZ. Okay, so instead of the var, the new version of JavaScript uses const as a constant or late. So you can either use const or use late instead of the var. So it is a prefix to be given if we want to create a variable. Okay, so instead of the var, I have used the const. Since we won't be changing the value of this app, therefore I have used const. If I want to change the value of app, I can use let. But here I won't be changing the value of this variable app, so I have used the const. So const is another name for the var. Whenever we create a variable in JavaScript, we use var. But newer version, ES6 version of JavaScript, we use const or let instead of the var. Okay, so this is the component I created, and this is called the hello world. Now I can create n number of components in React, and I can call one component inside another component. So that's what we will be doing now. So maybe I can say I can create another component. So when I create component, it should be the function. Now how to create function in JavaScript? I can call it like this, function parent. I can create function like this, or I can create function using the arrow function. This is called the arrow function. So I can create arrow function by saying const parent is equal to round bracket and rectangular bracket in the end, and this is the form of a function, and this is called the arrow function in ES6. I already explained this a few days back. Maybe you can go past and see what are the arrow functions is there. You can see that. So just remember this is a function, and when I create a function, this is become the component. So this we have one component, and we created another component here called as parent component. Okay, and I created another component, and I will name it as child component. Okay, so I have one app component, then I have parent component, then I have child component. And whenever I create a component, I should return some HTML part. So here maybe I can say div, and then I can put h1 tag or h2 tag. Maybe I can create h2 tag. So I can put any HTML inside the component. I have to return that HTML part. And putting the HTML inside the JavaScript is called the JSX language. Here I will say parent component. So we have the parent component which returns this HTML part. Let me put some HTML part for the child component. I will say return div, and here I will say h3, and here I will say it's a child component. So this is my child component, and here in the app I will say it is main component. So we have app component, and we have the another component called as parent, and another component called as child. Remember, all the components should be of capital letter. Okay, don't create component with the small letter. Whenever I use HTML tag, it should be the small letter tag. But whenever we use the component, it should be the capital letters. Means first letter should be the capital. Now what I will do in the app component, I will call the parent component. So how to call the parent component? So to call the parent component, I will use the HTML tags. So I'll say parent and I'll close that tag. When I call this as HTML tag, we are calling this parent component. And inside the parent component, I want to call the child component. So here I will say child and I'll close this one. So sometimes, sometimes it is better to keep the, generally this will work fine. Let's run it and then I will tell you what changes you have to do sometime in your code. So let's run this and then I will tell you some changes. So we have the main component and then we have the parent component and then we have the child component. Main component call the parent component and parent component call the child component. So this is working fine, but there is a sonar lint. It sometimes give you error that child component is called before it is created, because we create child component here. So sometimes this warning sign is given, though this is working fine, but they give the warning sign. So when you get that warning, you can move the child component above the parent component, then warning will go away, or you have to disable that warning. Okay. So this is the something I moved the child to up, though it will work fine because it is in the memory, it will work fine. But this warning is given in by the sonar or ESLint, we get that warning. So we move that accordingly. Okay. Now what I did, I created one component called as main component, that is called app, and then I call the parent component, which is here, and then I call the child component, which is here. So I can create n number of components and I can call that component in another component. That is the main purpose of this exercise. I can put this child component in another file and I can use it here, which I will do in some time. And I can put this parent component in another file, I can use it here. And I can keep this app component here. These all are called functional components. Right now React suggests you to only create the function components. Don't create the class components. Though I will show you how to create the class components, but class components are outdated and should not be used in any of your project. And if you have class project in your current company, you can migrate it to the functional component. Okay, that is the purpose. Now the main exercise for this is how to pass variables from one component to another component and from another component to another component. That is what I will be doing now. So let's say if I have a variable constant name equal to Jack, constant age equal to 34, constant gender equal to male. Okay, so these are the variables and I want to pass this variable to the parent component. So how will I do that? So to pass the variables from one component to another component, here I will create attributes for each variable. So for example, if I want to create a name variable which I want to pass to another component, I will say name equal to this name. Since this name is a variable, so I put it inside the curly bracket. So whenever we have to use the variable, JavaScript variable, we have to use it in the curly bracket. So if I want to pass this variable to parent component, what I am doing, I am creating attributes. These are called attributes. I created name attribute and I pass the name variable. Then I will create another variable age. I will say equal to age. So I am passing age as another attribute. Let's pass the third variable, gender, equal to gender. So what I did now, I created three variables and I want to pass these three variables to parent component. So I pass all the three variables to the parent component. Now we have to retrieve these three variables in the parent component. So all these variables will go inside the parent component as a props. So if I want to see what is the props, I will say console.log props are props. So when I write this statement means whatever variable I will get from in the parent component will be displayed here in the console.log. And what variables I will get here? I will get name, I will get age, I will get gender. And these three variables are created in the app component. And we pass that to the parent component. And here I am able to retrieve it using the props. Let's see what props are coming in the parent component. So you are seeing the props are Jack, gender and age equal to 34. All age, gender and Jack we are getting in the parent component. So here I can write my name is, since I want to put the variable, because name is coming as a variable as a props. So props is the object and we have to display the name. So I will put curly bracket. Why I'm putting curly bracket? Because I want to display the variable. And which variable I want to display? I want to display the name. Name is under which object? It is under object of props. So I can say props.name. When I say props.name, you will see my name is Jack is coming here. Okay. So I got three variables, name, age and gender. So I can also say my age is props.age. Then I'll say my gender is props.gender. So since I get three variables, I am calling three lines of the statement here. I can call two lines also, I can call one line also, but right now I want to put all the three variables here, so I put all the three here. So I get props.name. So whatever variables I pass, it can be accessed using the object, and this object is called props. Is it clear how I'm passing the variable to another component? Okay. Now I want to pass all these three variables to the child component also. So let's do it again. So I will say name is equal to, now here name will not be name, it will be props.name because we are getting name in the props part. And I will pass gender equal to props.gender. And here third will be age equal to props.age. Since we are getting all these variables under the object props, so we have to pass like props.name, props.gender, props.age. And we will try to see now what we are getting in the child component. Here also I will put props and I will say child props are these three. Here I put name because I am directly using the name. But here I am using props.name because name is coming under this object props. That's why I am using props. If I refresh the page, you will see child props are name, gender and age. Now what we are doing, whatever we are getting props, we are passing it to the child component. So that means the variable initially was created in the app component, it passed to the parent component, and from the parent component it got passed to the child component. So I can also write the same thing inside the child component. My name is props.name, props.age, props.gender. So in the child component I mention all the three names. In the parent component I mention all the three names. Now let's do some more changes in this. Let's do more changes in the component. Now this is a props. I will delete this props. I will put curly bracket. And in the curly bracket, can I put name, age and gender like this? Those who have attended my yesterday's lecture, they can answer it. Instead of props, can I get name, age, gender like this, curly bracket and that? So answer is yes. But why? Because we are destructuring the props. Props is the object with name, age and gender. So we can destructure to name, age and gender. And now instead of the props.name, I will say name only, because now we are getting name, age and gender. Name, gender and age. So those who have missed yesterday's class, I will just repeat this part in one line or in few minutes. So let me show you this one. So for example, if I have the object var object is equal to, so if I have object like A as value of 1, B as value of 2, C as value of 3, so this is my object, and then I can isolate A, B and C by saying A, B, C is equal to object. So what we are passing on the right side, we are passing A equal to 1, B equal to 2, C equal to 3, and on the left side I am just mentioning the variable name, that is A, B and C. So when I say var A, B, C equal to object, when I enter it, now when I put A, I will get the value of 1, because this A, we will get it from this A. And if I put B, we'll get 2. If I put C, we'll get 3. So what we are doing, we are destructuring. Destructuring means we are removing A, B and C separately in another variable which I can access directly, A, B and C. Similarly, here what we are doing, props was coming here. Here props was coming. I destructured like this, A, B, C. I destructured it, name, age, gender, and I'm able to show name, age, gender like this. So those who are very new, they will take few days of time to understand, because they missed last 2-3 lectures. So if you go to last 2-3 lectures, you will understand what I'm talking about, and in few days you will understand it more in a more better way. Okay, so now what I will do, I get name, age and gender. Now same thing I can do here in the child. I can, since our props is coming as an object, I can destructure it to name, age and gender. So I will be able to access without the props. Though it is equally okay if I pass here props and I use props.name. This is also fine. But better is to exactly send which variable I want to pass. It is better to use the destructuring way. It makes our code cleaner and nice. And gender. So I will pass all three, name, age, gender, and here I will remove the props. Let's take what is coming. Now I'm getting all three here, and I'm getting all three here. Now what I will do, I will only use name here, but age and gender will be used in the child. So I'll delete age and gender from here. Since name is used here, I don't want to pass name to the child. I will pass only gender and age. And here I'll delete the name. And I will delete the name here also. So what I'm doing, from the main app, I'm passing all three variables. And in the parent, I'm using one of the variable, and I'm passing two variables to another component. So in another component, I'm only getting age and gender. So I'm displaying age and gender here. I'm not displaying the name. So this is what I'm doing. Means we isolate some of the variables to pass to another component. We don't need to pass all the components which we get here. Depending upon our requirement, we only pass the limited information to child component. Now if I go to the screen, I will see my name is Jake is here, and here we are getting two variables. So what we did now, we created one component, we created another component, we created third component. We passed variables from one component to another component. And in another component, we retrieve that variables and we pass some variables to another component. And in the child, we receive some component, some variables, and we display those some variables. So this is what we did in this exercise. Okay, now I will give you 5 minutes of time. You write down all this what I did. If you don't write down, you will forget it, and this is very important right now. So let me create two sides. So here we will show child and parent component, and here is the app component. So write down this half part from here, half part from here, and once you're done, let me know. And if you don't write down here, you will not understand the further lessons, because you should have the habit of writing or creating the components. And remember, those who are already coming in the class, they should try to run this and see if page is rendering properly or you are getting any error in the console.log. And those who are new, who have joined today, they just write down there in Notepad or somewhere, and then they can run it when they will install the Node.js and all other things. Okay, so I'll give you 5 minutes to write down this component, then we will go further in this topic. So the question is, in console, do we the list of components included in the page? So generally one component is created one page. Right now I created 3 components in one page just for the sake of showing you, but it is good practice to move this component in its own file. And you cannot see the list of components in the page. You can only call the component and then what is the HTML part inside that component. Or you can put the console.log to see what component you are in. So I can say parent component. This parent component you can see in the console.log. So let's go and put it here as a child component. And then you can put here as a main component. Then you will see all 3 components in the console.log. Like if I refresh, you will see main component, parent component, child component. So since you have put console.log in each component, okay, that way you can see it. But in page, what are the components? You cannot list that one. And it is not even required. You have to move this component in another file. In some time we will do that. So component name is only for the namesake. In HTML you don't need the component name. But if you put console.log, you will know that which component you are in. Okay, so I hope everybody might have completed this, and if you're not completed, you can complete it after the class. It is good you should complete it in the class, because otherwise it will be difficult for you to learn more things in the class. So in the class, I will give you time to write down the things, and you have to complete it in the class. So 5 minutes are almost done, and if you have not done it, just do it after class. Okay, let me delete this part now. Okay, so now how many components are there? We have the child component, we have the parent component, and we have the app component. And remember this, we are passing the variable from one component to another component and to the third component depending upon requirements. And these variables which we pass, these are called props. These are called props in React. Okay, so these are props. Remember, when we pass the props, you should not change the name to different value. Name equal to blah blah blah. So when you get the variable name, you should not change the value of the props. The props are read only. So props are read only. You should not change the value of props. So here you can change the value of name whenever you want, or you want to do maybe Jack or Tony, whatever you want to put it. So here you are changing the name, the value of the name, but when it goes to another component, here you are not supposed to change the name, age or gender. Tomorrow you might be thinking, okay, let's change the, on button click, let's change the value of age, or let's change the value of gender. So that is not allowed. Props are always read only. You should never change the props, value of the props. Now what we will do, now props, this child component, parent component and app component are in one file. Let's move it to different file. So I'll create another file called as child.jsx, and then I'll create another file called as parent.jsx. So what I will do, I will move this child component to the child one. So here I will move the child component, and remember I have to add one line in the top, import React from React, and in the end we have to export the child. If we don't export it, we cannot use it in the app component. Since we have to use the child in the app component, so we have to export the child component. So we exported this child component in another file. Let's export this parent component in another file. So let me put this here. So here also, remember that parent component is exported, and we import the React from the React in the top line. Now here child component is called, so we need to import the child component in the parent component. So how to import the child component? I will just say import child from child. Since they are in the same folder, I will put / and I will name the file name of the child. File name of the child is this child.jsx. I don't need to include .jsx, but if I include JSX, it is also fine. But if I remove it, it is also fine. It will automatically take the JSX file. So now what we did, we imported child component, and we used that child component here. And in the app.js, we need to import the parent component. So to import the parent component, I will say import parent from /parent. So we imported parent component. Here I don't need to include a child component because it is only using parent component. And in the parent component, we have to import the child component because it is using child component. So what we did now, we moved the component in its old file. Now let's see if it is working. So now also this file works fine. We see main component, parent component and child component. So this is about the props. Now we will see some more stuff of the props, but before I go further, I will give you 1 minute to export child in its child component, parent in its parent component. Just copy paste in different folders or different files and call appropriately the import statements. I'll give you 1 minute to divide the component in its own file. So in JavaScript, you can use let, var, or const, any of the three. If you feel that you want to change the name, then you can use let. So you can use let like this, let like this, let like this, but you cannot change the name here in the parent component. Since it is coming as a props, you cannot change the name. You cannot say name equal to mango, for example. Since this is the props should not be changed. It is read only. So if you are using let here, that means you are thinking that you are putting some if condition. If age is greater than 30, you are changing the name equal to Jack. So for that purpose, you can use the let. But you should not change the name in the as a prop. So when it goes as a prop, you cannot change the name, value of the name. But when you are in the main component where you are passing the variable, there you can put let and change the name if you want. So right now I don't have intention to change, so I'll put const. Never change the props value. It is only for the read-only purpose. So if you want to change the value, you should use the state, which we will see soon. We have done some examples before. We will see it again. So if you want to change the value of any variable, you have to use state, not the props. Now these three variables are passed as the props. If I want to change the name somehow, then I will use state and not the props. That we will see soon, maybe tomorrow or day after tomorrow. Okay, I hope everyone has moved the components in its old file and folders. So files. Right now we have only one folder, the source folder. Now let's do one more thing in the props. Regarding props, we have to do some more things. So one of the things which we have to do is, I'll come out of this npm start. One of the things which we have to do is, see, we are passing name, age, and gender. So we are passing three variables. Now there is a concept in React that we can tell whether name is a string or whether name is a numeric or age is a numeric or gender is a boolean or string or whatever. So we need to define the type which we need to pass it. Okay, so to define the type, we need to install one module, and that module is called prop types. What is it called? Prop types. So what we have to do now, we have to run the command npm install -- save prop types. So this is the command which we have to run in my folder project 4. I will run npm install minus minus save prop types, and we will use this prop types now in a minute. So let me install this prop types, and then we will use this prop types. What this prop types will do, it will tell me, we will tell the React that name should be string, or name should be numeric, or name should be boolean, whatever I want. I will give the type, what type I want to pass for this variable. And if this variable comes as a boolean sometimes, if it comes object sometimes, then we can say any. So if I say any, then you can pass anything. Otherwise, we have to mention whether name is a string or integer or whatever it is. Okay, so once this is installed, I will show you how to do that. Okay, so it is installing. Now, till it install, let's see how to use it. Okay, so I'm in the parent component. I am trying to get three variables. Okay, so before using the prop types, this prop types, I will call this prop types. So I will say import prop types from prop minus types. So what I did, first thing what I did, I call the prop types in the, I imported the prop types in the second number line. First line is import React. Second line, you can interchange. I can put it as a third line, fourth line, it doesn't matter. But I did it in the second line. Now I will use this prop types. So how to use the prop types? So after this parent is created, I will say parent dot prop types is equal to object. Now remember, this prop types is having T capital, but this prop type is having P small, and here P is capital. So this prop types is not same as this prop types. This prop types is, we are telling React that these are the props which will come in this component. Okay, so don't misunderstand this prop type with this prop types. This prop types I haven't used it in the page yet, but I will use it now. So whenever we want to use the prop types, I have to say the component name dot prop types. This is with the small p. I am not yet using this one. I will be using this in 1 minute. But right now, I am just saying parent dot prop types is equal to an object. And now we have to fill the object. How to fill the object? We have to take all the variables which we pass as a props. So what are the variables? Name, and then we have age, then we have gender. I will put all the three variables which I want to use it in this component. And then, since this is object, I will put the value of each one. So whenever I want to put the value, then I will use this prop types. So I will say prop types dot string. That means I am expecting this name as a string. If I pass numeric, it will give me warning in the console that it is not a string. And this will be prop types dot, it will be dot, let's see which one I want to, number. So for the numeric, we have to pass the number. And then the gender. So I will use prop types dot string. So there are many prop types version. The common thing which we use is array, element, object, number, string. Okay, So few things we use, whatever we use as a data type in JavaScript, we use same thing here. So what I did, I created parent.prop types. This prop types is not this one, and I created object and I pass all the three variables which I want to use it, and then for each one I'm saying prop type dot string or prop type dot number or prop type dot string, whatever we want to pass it, we pass it like this here. So now what will happen? Now if we don't pass this as a string, it will give me the warning. Okay, before it gives the warning, let's see how it works. I will say npm start. Okay, let me show you. So this prop types you have to use always whenever you create a component and you pass the props, you have to create this prop types. Always. Don't forget to create this prop types. If you don't create it, it will work fine. Your application will work fine. But in some companies, it is mandatory to create this prop types. And this will help us to know what props this component is expecting. Tomorrow, you have 10 components here, 10 props passing here. You should know what props you are trying to pass it in this component. So always try to create prop types. This will help in your file to understand what props you are trying to pass. Otherwise, if you don't pass it, it will work fine. Okay, now let me see how it looks. I'm not getting any warning. Now see, this is the string. I will change the name to numeric. See what will happen. So I pass the name as numeric. It is saying invalid prop name of type number supplied to parent expected string. So it was expecting string and I passed numeric. I can change it to any if I don't know if it is string or numeric, then it will work fine. So I'm getting no warning. So if your power is off, you can watch the video tomorrow, or if you can connect through mobile, you can watch in mobile. And I will be uploading the recording soon after this class. Okay, so let's make it string. Okay, so that we should not get any warning. We know it will come as a string, so we are putting as a string. Okay, so what we did, we created the prop types and we added this line in the top and we installed this prop types. If you don't install this, it will not work. Previous version of the React, the prop types was included in when you install the React. But somehow in the new version, we need to manually install this. Okay, so now how I have done the prop types for the parent, I will give you 2 minutes to do it for the child. And once you do it, you have to paste in the chat so that I can see if it is correct or no. So whatever I did for parent, do it for the child and put it in the chat so that I know you have done it this part correctly, this part correctly. Okay. Yeah. So you can leave. If you want, you can leave. I will upload the recording. Then you can watch that. I'll give you 2 minutes to fix the child component. Like I did in the parent component, you have to do it in the child component. Is this done? Have you added the prop types for child? Okay, Kate is writing. Okay, let me see what it is. Those who have done it, they can compare the solution with my, yeah, gender is prop type string, gender is prop dot number, correct. So those who have done, they can see my solution, and it should be same like this. Okay, only Kate have replied in the chat. Okay, it's correct. Okay, let's do little bit more. I'm taking too long today, but I want to finish this part. So there is one more thing which I can pass it here. If I wanted to force that user should always pass age and gender, generally it is optional if you want to pass age or gender. If you don't pass it, then it's okay. But if you want to force user to pass that, you have to just put is required. Though it is not the real forcing, it will give the warning in the console.log, but you can at least see in the console that this is required and user has not passed. So I will say is required. After I put number, I will say dot is required. So it makes mandatory for the user to pass it. If we don't pass it, we'll get warning. Though on the page he will not see any error, he will see the website is working fine, but on the console he will be able to see the error. So I will just put is required in the end to see what is happening. If you don't want required, you can remove it. Now since I have passed, you don't see any warning. Now what I will do, I will not pass anything. I will not pass value for the name. Okay, let's not pass this one since it is also empty string. Yeah, so I will not pass that prop. So it's saying the prop name is marked as required in parent, but its value is undefined. So I removed it because if I was putting it was anyhow a string, it was considered as passed. So if I don't pass it now, I'm getting this warning sign. Though the site will work fine, but I will get this warning sign here. So what I did, I put is required everywhere to make it required. This is optional. If you don't want is required, just remove it. But I put it right now for you to see. Okay, one more thing which we will do here, because since we want to complete the props part today, I will do one more thing. I will put some default value for each props. Okay, since I want to put default value, I will remove the as required. I will remove the as required part because I want to show you the default one. If I keep both, you won't be able to see the difference. Okay, so what I will do here, I will create a default one. I will say parent dot default props. So if user has not passed the props, you will display it from the default props. So for example, I can say name as Modi, okay, and age as 45, and gender as male. So if I don't pass name, age, and gender from here, it will take this default value and it will display that value here. Okay, so same thing I can do it for the child also. Okay, so no, here we need age and gender, so we don't need name. Okay, so now what I will do, I will not pass any of the things here, and we'll see what we are getting it. So if I don't pass anything, you will see it's taking my default value, Modi 45 male. And if I'm passing something, then it will take, okay, name is Jack. So it's taking the value from my variables, but if I'm not passing, it is taking from my default props. So default props is not generally, it's optional if you want to pass some optional value. But I have not used default props in any of my project because I believe in dynamic thing. This static thing is not needed in my case. But you should know how to pass the default if you want in your application. So just write down this default props in parent and child. I'll give you 1 minute to put this. Okay, I hope everyone might have completed this default props. And want to those who want to study more about prop types, they can go to this link, and here you can see what are the different prop types are there. We have array, bool, function, number, object, string, symbol, node, element type. So there are a lot of prop types are there, and most of them are not used because we only use in JavaScript some not data type which JavaScript has. So others are little offline. They are not used much in the real world, but you can go through all this list. Okay, this is the page. I will put it in the chat. Yeah, Pranali did it. Now, child does not need a name. If you see the child, if it's the child does not need the name. It is having only age and gender. Since we are passing age and gender as a props. Okay, so that's all for today. Any questions?